estimate a little bit better is what's happening there. So, as you said it, this is very important for both of them. Vindicta wins this. He's a very good shot at winning against BioWaste. He's up there in even top 2. So that would be actually really quite cool. But we're finally into game. Bottom left for Basilisk Esports, it is Trigger.
And in the top right-hand side, representing the Cranky Ducklings, it is Vindicta.
It's a cool team. And I was kind of expecting something like this. I was expecting aggression very early on. Either good old like factory expand aggression, which, you know, still, or actually a proxy barracks. Wasn't anticipating it being so proxy, however. Vindicta definitely taking some big risks, and I feel like Trigger might actually scout for it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to see no racks in the main, but that doesn't tell you where that racks is, and hence what this is exactly going to be. Yeah, it's definitely just right out there, isn't it? Like, more aggressive, more in your face than you'd ever really expect. And that's where the power of this can really come from, as we'll see Trigger is going to start moving down to the low ground. I feel like, yeah, he's just going to pull the Nexus for the moment and go around the side, but this is a big natural. Yeah. Okay, he's going to check it. Good job.
Yeah, it's not his first rodeo, especially on data C, because, yeah, it is such a big natural, so you do want to go ahead and check. I mean, it's great if you can find it first and foremost, but that is a little less likely, so at the very least, getting that Zealot on the way. Vindicta doing a wonderful job with the bunker placement, getting it nice and set into the minerals. Nothing you can do about that, unfortunately, even with the Zealot. So this is a guaranteed bunker, which means Trigger does have to get the shield battery up.
Yep, and the Zealot will come running down, but yeah, bunker's going to be down so quickly, so we're going to get quite a few shots on this Zealot, and Zealot's actually going to go for the bunker momentarily. As you continue to put damage on this and get back on the battery as well. If you can chip through that, that's amazing. The most important thing is that you forced the battery already. I mean, that's usually just step 1 of this for the Terran play. That's 100 minerals. The Protoss didn't really want to spend right there, as the Stalker gets the shot on the SCV, and now we have chickens in the bunker. I'm just going to continue this back and forth as long as possible. Another shot on the SCV. That adds up, of course. That's what you want to be able to stop this repairing.
Can he not shoot the pylon?
On the bunker?
I actually thought he was in range.
Could, no?
Yeah, 100% he's
to?
in range. Kind of surprised he isn't, well, at least when he's not shooting units, of course. So he's wasted some shots on the Nexus. When actually threatening that pylon can kind of get worrying. Initially, it's like, no. But then you start to wonder, oh, wait, do I have to use shield battery energy on this? And you realize you don't have shield battery energy, so you have to pop an overcharge. And you're like, well, this is super awkward. Especially because Vindicta did invest into a 3rd Reaper. So, okay, yeah, now he's going for the pylon. Yes, this is what's really scary for the Protoss. It's how things snowball. They don't stop the pylon from getting killed.
Yeah, now he's hitting the Stalker. Super battery has to be popped, and that is going to be just, again, a little bit of an expense, right? So energy being spent on this, and this really did a fantastic job. Yes, it was 3 Reapers invested in the end, so a bit more than usual from the Terran, but he's got 3 Reapers and a Hellion. Good that we've got a Reaper wall off over here, otherwise we might have been in a lot more trouble. The Hellion, no, just stopping short, maybe could have had a probe.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where the probes were all stacked up, but then besides that, he does want to get into the main base. Well, I guess technically he sees the Twilight Council in the gateway, so... Well, maybe not the biggest of deals. He was, I think, distracted by both getting a Reaper up as well as the Zealots attacking his supply depot. So the Hellion was not as good as it could have been. And this Reaper took its sweet time getting into the main. Didn't really check much more than it already seen. Probably was hoping he could actually get to the back corner and kind of confirm the, well, the non-presence of a Dark Shrine. Or 2 additional gateways.
It just felt more like a morale victory. Vindicta's like, look, I can prove I can get a Reaper in your base. Doesn't matter if I don't see anything extra. I just want to prove I can get in here. You're not as safe as you think you are, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of over as far as the early game aggression goes, but we're kind of swiftly moving into mid-game aggression. Widowmine drops with an armory and then a Banshee and a tank. If Vindicta chooses Data C to go for a 2-base, like no stim kind of all in, I would be absolutely shocked. So this should just be defensive tank, Banshee kind of a why not, and then well, maybe it'll throw Trigger off enough that I'll be okay. But Trigger has already handled the Widowmine portion of this fairly easily.
Yeah, dealing with the first 2 mines really easily, having the Observer out, just making this feel as though Vindicta is just not getting enough out of it. Like, don't get me wrong, the Reapers at the start were nice, but since that, what have we really had? You know, it feels like there's been opportunities with the Hellion and whatever else, but it's just not really ever resulted in much of anything. So, yeah, and you have the Reapers really desperate to keep on scan. I mean, I can appreciate that. This scan feels a lot more reasonable, a lot more expected to actually find some information, even get a cheeky little probe kill. So, yeah, Reaper into the main is okay. And there is the stim starting up. The engineering bay and all of the features set up ZG, so you were not crazy in saying that it would have been kind of crazy if he'd committed to the 2 base.
It would have been terrible. I know that Reaper was actually pretty good. If he was clicking on the buildings instead of just assuming they're all gateways, he would have seen that's a robotics bay. So, perfect information, actually, because he didn't quite see the presence of a 4th gas, so he would have to be uncertain up until seeing the robotics bay, whether it was like mass gateways or Colossus. So, good information. Can he do a lot with it now? No, because he's still getting set up. I mean, he's still getting his stim, his combat shields, his production. And I think that Trigger is actually very close to even running away with this game. I'm going to give it still the first 2 medevacs. If they do something, okay, I'll shut my mouth. But I don't think they will. And then I think anything beyond that, Trigger's going to just dunk on.
Yeah. As we do have the little push forward here from Trigger, just going to hold this forward position. But upgrades coming through on the side of Vindicta, so he doesn't want to move out yet. And with triple tank, you can imagine much to happen here, so have a peaceful few moments, EG, before, I guess, the medevac extra 2 get up, and then we probably do try and push around a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But Trigger's going to see all of that, and not just with an Observer, but with Stalkers. They can also do a bit of time buying. Oh, the Observer just got scanned. Okay, that is pretty important. So now the Stalkers are the only thing present to see the move out, which means that it can't 100% guarantee there's not a drop. So that is something to be concerned about, but Trigger is already on it. I think he's got a unit to the top left, patrolling around for the drop. His 3rd base has the reinforcements, and he's covering that very, very weak Banshee. So this is the moment. Vindicta has got a good army supply, a decent army type. If he can actually make Trigger kind of mess up, basically, then there might be something to play with. But with 2 Colossus already out, Extended Thermal Lance almost done, and that drop being seen by a surveillance mode Observer, it would have to be Trigger messing up to actually make this work.
Yeah, I think so too, right? He just has a little bit too much power here. Dropping the main base, completely shut down. Pops the super battery on it, so very serious about just taking no damage at all here. He obviously felt very comfortable at the front that attack was never really a threat. He even pops the Guardian Shield like he's ready to bust it, but Vindicta is long gone, so good call by Vindicta, because if Trigger's feeling that confident about just walking straight into the fight, Vindicta absolutely did not want to be there.
Right, now he would have lost 100%. I think Trigger is very aware of how good of a position he is, and Vindicta is also aware of how poor of a position he was in. Like, he also, before that move out even, kind of, you know, resituated in his chair and didn't look super happy with how the game was going. Because I don't think there is a reason to. It doesn't seem like maybe much has happened, but when you try to do so many aggressive maneuvers, so many investment into harassing units, and then only about a third of it actually did anything at all, and even then, not, you know, a tremendous amount of damage. Yeah, you know that there's going to be maybe 1 power spike. That's why he moved out. That's why he tried to do something against Trigger, and then that's kind of it. Then you're basically on turtle mode, which means Trigger will eventually move out, start bullying Vindicta, and we'll see if Vindicta can find himself one heck of an engagement.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be, like you say, one heck of an engagement that's needed, really. I mean, he's going to have all the tech, right? When you've got all those pieces, there's definitely a world in which that sort of stuff is possible. So let's find out. Obviously, Trigger getting more and more pieces to the puzzle as well, though, as he's going to be able to have access to, you know, the DTs, the disruptors. Getting his own upgrades online is even nice as well. So it just feels difficult to be kind of positive for Vindicta in any way. Like, any tech he gets feels like it's being matched on the other side, and yeah, just doesn't feel like he's going to have much of an opening to work with at the moment.
Dare say he might even have to just go ahead and get into Liberators, which actually is not that good, despite what you guys, or I think, when I go up against them. When it comes to the pros, that's actually a pretty delicate balance, a delicate transition. one which an active Protoss, which the pros are, can kind of nip in the bud a lot of the time because they're supposed to be active. The triggers finally get on that map once his 4 bases are set up. So they're supposed to be active. They're going to be looking for any transitions. They're going to be looking for pickoffs. So Vindicta, no matter what he chooses to do, max out on the basic, I guess, Terran army, max out on Ghosts and Vikings, or try to actually get to those Liberators. He's going to be scouted and he's going to be pressured, and anything's going to be difficult. But he is definitely trying his best to do that little bit of turtling. That is really his only choice, so he might as well do it well.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. He's just got to sit back here, got to accept his position, and like I said, just try and do this part of it well. And really right now, he needs to make sure the DTs don't get a chance to do anything. Really don't let the main base be, jumped into or anything. That's what all the turrets and the mine are for. And just, again, kind of get Trigger to maybe be a little bit impatient even, right? Because if Trigger just goes throwing units into him, that's absolutely his chance to take a very good fight, a much better fight than otherwise maybe offered to him. So yeah, that's the way to do it. But Trigger, I like what he's doing, just taking an extra base, opening up the map a bit. So far hasn't been too crazy about throwing anything any which way, right? So in that regard, it's definitely feeling pretty much as though Trigger is playing this properly. And there's just a couple DTs slipping in, and maybe use those DTs as a chance to get his setup over here. He's even already cleaned out mine, so love that too. Yeah. Wow, getting all of them.
Pretty good use of disruptors, honestly. So seeing as his opponent is on a 4th base, it's a good sign kind of no matter what. It does mean that it's going to be hard to break Vindicta because it's less likely there'll be a DT harassment zealot run by opportunity that can do a kind of 1-2 punch. 3 bases are not much to cover. So when you reach towards a 4th and a 5th, that those 12 DT warpins are just like, what do you do? But it also means that Vindicta is not on a 4th base. He's running out of mining. He's running out of economy. There's going to be one decent fight for him, maybe, and then absolutely no remax. And that decent fight remains to be seen. He's currently down 30 supply overall, but that isn't workers. His actual army is not that bad.
Yeah, the problem is Trigger's already getting a good bank up, right? So whenever a fight happens, Trigger is going to be able to start reinforcing the moment he starts to lose units, which is terrifying because then you're essentially, there's essentially like another 20 supply in the Trigger army that doesn't fight straight away, but fights very soon after the battle starts. This is maybe his chance, right? Come in from multiple angles, get those disruptors caught off guard, make Trigger panic a little bit. You see the disruptors trying to fly everywhere. Oh. Now Vindicta does have to try and go in just one direction. I mean, Trigger's just moved the right way, hasn't he? Vindicta has no choice but to chase him down. And, well, it honestly went pretty well for Vindicta, but Trigger, I feel like, dealt with it pretty okay. As long as he keeps enough splash damage alive to survive this continued push in, and he should be all right.
Right. It was okay for Vindicta, but okay for Trigger as well.
Yeah.
That could have gone... I mean, basically, it could have only gone worse for Trigger. I don't know how much better it could have gotten for Vindicta, but it could have gone worse for Trigger. He kind of calmly dealt with that. I think he also had a good number of disruptors, and they weren't all, I think what happens a lot when that happens, that the Protoss initially goes, oh shit, runs back. Disruptors are the slowest unit, so they're on the front lines. They get bopped first. Basically, because Trigger could consistently pop out disruptor shots, the surround, the epic, oh my god, he's gonna win now. It doesn't really happen. We just go, oh, okay, yeah, good job, little clap. But then the game goes on, and who has the bigger bank? Trigger does.
Yeah, no, you're right as well. It's just the disruptors. He was also very good at just not saying, oh crap, let's fire all the disruptors at once and hope one of them hits one location. He just fired a disruptor here and a disruptor there. He was very even with his distribution of them, and that made it really difficult for Vindicta to really then get on top of the army successfully and really execute that surround. So just good calm play from Trigger, who maybe needs to back up with these zealots, but of course he's using them as a way to get in position with the other army here as well. Just chipping away at workers. Yes, you've got a 4th base up now, Vindicta, but Trigger is looking at base number 6, base number 7 coming onto the map. Yeah, he's warping in 14 zealots at a time, still building more disruptors. Yeah, with the bank still looking absolutely huge. I mean, I continue to list the advantages, right? They're just all in favor of Trigger in big ways. Yeah.
I think also for that big surround opportunity, I did notice the upgrades. Vindicta was trying to hit a perfect upgrade advantage, but it was just, it was like 10 seconds before Trigger's finished as well, so there wasn't really a big one. Which kind of sucks, because it really, a lot of, I'd say a lot of Terrans right now, especially when they're forced into this type of game, they do know that all they need is that one big surround with an upgrade advantage, if they can, to change the course of the game. So he was choosing the right thing to do in a very desperate scenario. It just didn't work out for a multitude of reasons, and now he's going to have the full brunt of a 7-base Protoss to deal with. One that could transition at any time, by the way. There is a Stargate. Vindicta did see that, knows that could also make an appearance at some point. But if not that, then just a mass amount of gateway units.
Yeah, I mean, these units still trying to come in from every angle. They actually get the better disruptor shot that would have landed there. So a little bit messy for Trigger in this battle. But again, he's just going to have reinforcements for days. And I really feel like right now, there's nothing to really effectively kill Zealots, right? Like, the Zealots get killed if they get outmassed, if they get hugely outnumbered. Vindicta knows this isn't going anywhere. And Trigger is going to get himself the first map victory of this best of 3. Fun little back and forth in essence, but obviously with Trigger pretty much always in the driver's seat there.
Right. Yeah, it sucks, and I'm not even like thinking from my own experience. I'm kind of thinking of a lot of North American Terrans when it feels like you just didn't do anything. So you kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm being too empathetic here, but it kind of looks like they kind of get resigned. So even though they do the right things and they play the right game in a bad scenario, you kind of already feel like mentally or emotionally, both, either, whatever, they're already defeated. You know, where I guess if you were thinking of like a Korean Terran like Maru, biggest name, right? But a Gumiho, Akin even, or something like that, you're going to think they're going to do some really wacky thing that kind of brings them back. It'll be eventually okay. Widowmines didn't do anything, but the Banshee somehow gets 14 probes, and you're like, oh, all right, then. Just don't have the same hope for North Americans, I guess. Really, I'm throwing a big blanket over them, but it's yeah, certainly what I felt watching them. So once Vindicta's Widowmine drop and Banshee didn't do anything, I was like, I think I know how this is going to look, and it did look like exactly what I pictured.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you just don't do damage, and it's like you invested so much into it, so the pros are just cruising along. I mean, the most dangerous he looked was what, with the 3 Reapers in the bunker. And what did he do? He forced a super battery to be used? Like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I missed a Corona boost on my probes when you build 3 Reapers anyway, you know? Like, that's kind of a big deal in and of itself. You know, 1 extra Reaper than usual, even on a proxy. So, yeah, I don't think we're really too upset about the opening of this Trigger. And like you say, from there, you're right. I think the Terran players, they kind of just look at this and they say, well, yeah, what are we meant to do? What do you want us to do, ZG? Like, you know, they've got a lead, they've got the economy, I've not slowed them down. But yeah, you're right. Like, when you watch like someone like Maru or Gumiho, they play a bit crazy, right? They pull something out, they do the thing that gets them back in the game. But Vindicta couldn't find that. So into game 2 we go with a 1-0 lead for the Basilisk esport player in the top left-hand side. It is Trigger.
Going for the proxy once again, he is the blue Terran Vindicta.
I think, obviously, proxy much further away. Yeah, I guess you just build a Reaper, use it for a little bit of pressure early, probably factory-based expansion, and then just try and put some pressure on there again. Hope it goes a little bit better than last time around, is my best guess at what we're going to do now.
I think it's a situation that Vindicta finds himself comfortable in, so I don't care if he goes proxy racks, even more proxies, if you wanted to. In all 3 of the games they play. It's the best of 7. He did all 7 games. I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. Because the meta also says it's kind of okay as well. But it's the transition. It's the question of, does it do enough damage? Does it throw my opponent off enough? And is my transition sharp enough, my follow-up powerful enough, that this is more of the stepping stones? It's the 1 part into the 2nd part, into the 3rd part, into the 4th part. So that's when the Protoss starts just looking like they're on the back foot, and it doesn't look that great for the Protoss' side. And we talk about how Vindicta was in it to win it from Reaper number 1. But it's like, the first Reaper could do a lot. I'm wary of the 2nd part of this. Whatever the factory is going to do, I don't know if it's going to do enough.
Yeah, the tech lab on the racks is very fun as well, isn't it? It's going to be...
Yeah, okay. Something really funky. I love that he checked for the probe, by the way. Trigger is absolutely a Protoss player who do something like warping a couple of adepts to be really annoying.
Yeah, definitely the kind of thing you want to be doing, right? Just catching a probe. Do not let it just kind of control the game you're meant to be controlling. And now we go Marauder concussive shots. I mean, this is really nice, right? Because if you think about it, Trigger doesn't know where the barracks is. He knows it's just a Reaper. He doesn't seem too committed or anything, right? So you're like, oh, okay, a Reaper barracks is maybe floating home or so. You know, is there really much more to worry about here? Well, You don't really know because the Stalker can't see a command center on the high ground. You know, there's nothing to say that CC's not just out of range, right? So,
Right.
yeah, you just don't really know his triggers. So you kind of naturally just got to play safe. And if he chooses to skip the battery and play a bit greedy, this is worst case scenario for that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out as well, is that Vindicta is almost letting Trigger believe that this is meh. He's like, yeah, you know, it's not doing anything. Oh no, my Reaper's was actually it's kind of sucks. So I was Reaper caught, but still, it's not the main deal. It's not the main dish. The main dish is the follow-up, the Marauders, the Hellion, the Medevac. And if Trigger is playing in a greedy / overconfident state, doesn't get the shield battery, that's how this is going to snowball. But even then, I think it still relies a lot on the Stalkers also being in a place where they get tagged immediately. You know, if the probe sees this first, I actually think there's some wiggle room there for Trigger to come out ahead. But we will see. A entirely one base attack is probably not exactly what Trigger's expecting.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't seem that way. He's got purely Stalkers as well, so these Marauders are going to most likely have a very good time. I feel like we're about to see a bit of a Vindicta party right here. The Stalkers are moving forward as well. The Marauders come in from the side. They get one Stalker stuck out of range of the battery even. Now these other Stalkers are going very far forward. And honestly, you can hit the Hellions all you like, but I feel like hitting the Hellions, yes, it's going to allow the probes to pull in, but the Stalkers are going to have a horrible time against the Marauders. Super battery pops, and well, maybe the super battery will just make this okay. An adept tank a bit, now an immortal on the way. Hold for that, and I guess we really are good.
Yeah, this was handled.
Wow.
Almost with ease. Almost with ease. There's a lot of micro. I actually think I was with you. I thought him moving out was terrible. Yeah. But that was okay. Only one Stalker got tagged after all, and took a couple of different full-powered shots to actually die. So that really wasn't a super snowball effect. It just made the Medevac weak, and then it was mismicroed a bit, so it was targeted down, which means the Marauders, even as they were left still 4 strong, weren't getting healed up, where shield battery was healing up the Stalkers. So that had a lot of potential. Abso-freaking-lutely, but it is a failure, and such is one that he has to tap out. GG.